Now, when you're building websites, efficiency is one of those key things that you want to optimize as much as possible, especially if you're working for clients. This is where using a framework like Core Framework, my framework of choice, comes in really, really handy. What does it do? It allows you to have a consistent design process, so your spacing, your typography, your colors are all connected up, and making changes are in one place and they reflect everywhere. Now, if you were a Figma user, it's really nice to be able to take advantage of that framework kind of feature set. This is where the Core Framework for Figma plugin comes in really handy. What this allows you to do is connect up your Core Framework setup to your Figma account. Then, when you're designing things, you can switch those values back and forth. So if you update something inside, for example, the WordPress plugin using Core Framework, or the Core Framework feature that you can use for free on the website, that will be synchronized with your Figma design. And the same works in reverse. Make a change inside your Figma design, synchronize it, pushes it back to your website or to your dashboard as part of Core Framework. Now, this is still an early release, so there's still quirks and bugs and things that maybe could be streamlined a little bit in the near future. And at this point in time, you can only use this with the Figma app. So you need to have the Figma app installed on your Mac or your PC. But this is only a temporary thing while this is a kind of early access release. When the full featured version is available, you'll be able to use this as a plugin inside the online app, so inside your browser, and also as part of the app that you can download and install. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's take a quick look at how some of these things work. Now, this is not an exhaustive overview. This is my kind of first look. I've already spent maybe 2 hours playing around with this over the last day or so since I bought it. And yes, I did buy it. This hasn't been gifted to me. This is coming out of my own money, exactly the same as Core Framework. Paid for all these things myself. So no affiliation at all. Now, the first thing I want to say is I'm not going to go through the process of how you install and set everything up. There's great documentation available for that, and I'll link this in the description down below so you can take a look. Once you've got the plugin installed and you have it set up and connected, you can then start to synchronize back and forth between the two different platforms, whichever you are using. If you were doing this inside the plugin, all you need to do is activate the plugin inside your copy of WordPress, open up the Figma section, copy the API key, head over into your Figma app, open up plugins, come down to development and Core Framework. And from there, you just simply pop in that API key, click connect, and now they're connected to each other. So you can see the colors we have there, the primary, secondary, tertiary, and so on, are the exact same colors that we have inside the Core Framework plugin in my WordPress website. And we can make changes inside here. So let's take a look at how we can start to reference these variables and so on, and what they mean when you're creating and designing things inside Figma. Before we move on, let's take a moment to have a message from today's video sponsor, Omnisend. Now, if you're looking for solid email marketing platform for your e-commerce store, look no further than Omnisend. Getting started is an absolute breeze. They offer some of the most affordable pricing on the market, and you can start with their free plan and experience premium features without spending a penny. It's the best quality to cost ratio you'll find anywhere. If you need help, rest assured, with Omnisend's award-winning customer support, you're always a priority. It's available 24/7, 365 days a year, and you'll get a response in less than 3 minutes, making you feel valued and important. Now, don't just take my word for it. Omnisend is a top-rated platform with unbeatable pricing, powerful features, and exceptional support. The reviews speak for themselves. If you're ready to elevate your email marketing game, Omnisend is here to help. You could try Omnisend today and discover why they're the best choice for your e-commerce business, with unbeatable pricing, powerful features, and exceptional support. Link in the description down below. So I've got a blank artboard all set up just to give you a demonstration. And if you go to the right-hand side, you can see we've got local variables. Click the little settings option and there are our variables. Now you can have more than one collection of variables available, so you can add your own in, you may use multiple. But in this example, we're only looking at the Core Framework one. So that's what's selected. If you want to change this, you can just simply come to the top and change it to Core Framework if not selected. Let's expand this out a little bit. Now you can see we've got our grid variables. So all these variables are the things you used to see inside, the Core Framework, whether you're using the plugin or using the online app as part of Core Framework's website. Same thing goes for our colors, our brand colors, all the different shades we have available, the neutral shades, the status, taxonomies, and so on. Same thing goes for our colors, for the background, for text, and all those kinds of good things. And if we come in, you can see we've got fluid spacing for mobile and for desktop, and the same thing for our fluid typography for mobile and desktop. Open one of those up. There's our text extra small, right the way up to 4XL, and any variations you may have put in yourself. So now we've got those available to us, we can start to utilize them. So let's use a really simple example. Let's close this down a second. Let's just add in a rectangle. We'll set that to be perfectly square. Okay, so we've now got a single rectangle inside here. Now, with that selected, let's come over and say we want to round the corners off, something you do very often inside any kind of design. All we need to do is use this little variables symbol, this little sort of box symbol. We click on it, and there's all our variables. So now we can simply search what we want if it's not available. You can see there is the radius. So let's do radius L. And there's our radius. We've now applied that radius to that. The beauty of this is if we make a change somewhere, for example, we make a change inside Core Framework itself, and we change the size of that particular radius in any way, it will be reflected here. We can synchronize back and forth between the two. We'll come back to that in a moment. Okay, so now that we've got this set up, let's say we want to change the color of it. Well, we've got it selected. Come over to our colors. We can click on our little color chip and come up to libraries. Inside our libraries, you can see, again, we've got all libraries. We leave this set as all libraries. That's perfectly fine. But you can see there's our primary with our shades, our secondary, our tertiary, and the one that I've created, which is this WPTuts one. So let's apply that color, and boom, we now have that applied to it. And as you can see, if you take a look, it says colors-brands-WPTuts. So it's using the variable setup that we've got created. Now, let's just duplicate this. Let's change the color. So we'll just use a different color. So again, we'll come up, we'll say we want something like, we'll grab the tertiary color. Okay, cool. Now let's select both of these, and we're going to just create a auto layout from here. Now, let's say we want to control the spacing in between the two of these, which is something, again, you're probably going to want to do when you're creating card designs, layouts for typography, and all those kinds of cool things. So now what we can do is, with those both selected, we can come over to the spacing options. You can see that's currently set to 65. But if we click this, we can say apply variable. Choose that and scroll through, and there's our fluid spacing for mobile, fluid spacing for desktop. So let's say we want to use large spacing. Boom, we now have large spacing applied. Pretty cool. Want to change it? Not a problem at all. Choose apply variable, and let's go for 4XL this time. Bang. Now it's updated. And this is fluid, so it's using the same variables that we've set up inside Core Framework, which, like I say, is pretty nifty. Let's set that back to a better value, though. Let's come back and apply a variable, and we'll go back to something like large. Cool. Okay, so now we've created some basic blocks and so on, so nothing too exciting there. Let's say, for example, though, that we want to change something about this. Well, let's select this, come over to our plugin section, down to development, and open up our Core Framework plugin. Make sure we connect it so it pulls in the latest variables. This is one of those things that I would like to see this sort of be automatic. Once you've kind of built it, this will automatically, once it's connected, full stop, and maybe you need to reconnect at a session kind of time, but you get the idea. Okay, so we've used the WPTuts color. Let's change that here. Let's change it for something like an orange. Okay, so what we need to do now is we need to click on the save, and that will then synchronize it. Again, I would like to see this maybe change from save to sync, just because it kind of makes a bit, to my brain, it makes a bit more sense. Let's click on save, and you can see that color has now updated. And you see, it tells us synced successfully. And we go back to our Core Framework inside the actual website itself. You'll see that our color has now updated. So we've got that orange color here. So you can see these are pushing back and forth, they're synchronizing between the two different parts. So let's change that again. Let's change it to something completely different this time. Let's go for this kind of, I don't know, let's go for a lime greeny kind of color. Okay, we'll hit Save Changes. You see it tells us it's been pushed and synced. And if you take a look at the plugin itself inside Figma, you can see that that now has updated. So all we need to do is click on the Save. And you can see that refreshes. So this is, again, one of those things that I would like to see this maybe a little bit smoother, a little bit more streamlined. I'm sure we will see that because, like I say, this is pretty much an early release. But you can see how we can synchronize back and forth between the two different sort of platforms that we're using. Okay, let's take a look at text this time. So let's open up the type tool. So let's just click and add some text in. Okay, so we can't really see it very well, so let's just pop in. So now we've added some text in. Now, how do we go about changing this to work with our variables? Well, it works in fundamentally the same way that we've already seen. So let's select our text and come over to the sizing on the right-hand side. And as you can see, it says 22 at this point in time. Let's click, and at the bottom, you can see there's our variable option. We click on that, and now there's our variables. So we can search, and there's our fluid typography for mobile and our fluid typography for the desktop. Let's choose something like 3XL. And now you can see that updates accordingly. Same thing goes again, like we seen before. If we want to change that, just come back up to our variables, and we can change it to something like medium. We can also use that on things like line spacing and so on as well. So you can see whenever we hover over any of these, we get the little variable symbol, and we can start to reference any of those variables from this list. So you can see how easy it is to be able to connect things up, use the variables inside here, and then synchronize those back and forth between your website design and so on. So our colors, our typography, all those things are available. Pretty much everything from Core Framework is available to be able to use inside here where applicable. So that's pretty cool. Now, if you like to work with local styles, again, you can still use these in exactly the same way. So if you create a local style, so let's say, for example, our text, you can see we've got the option to call this whatever we want. We'll call it sample text style. And then we got the options again. So we can change things over from here. You can see there's our variable options. So this may be our body, for example. So we'll just do a search for M for our body typography. There we go. Again, you want to change any of your spacing, any of your line height. All those options are available inside here. So it's pretty cool. So you create your style. Bang, there's your style. Apply. Simple as that. So we can just say, let's go and put in some text. We'll apply a style to it. So we choose our styles, there's our sample text, click, boom, job done. Obviously, if we go and change any of those styles and we still use the variables, everything will update accordingly. Or we change any of those variables inside Core Framework or inside the Figma plugin for Core Framework, we can synchronize everything back and forth between all of those. Now, this is just scratching the surface of what we can do here. I've only been playing with this for a very short amount of time, and this is still an early release, so hopefully we'll see things smooth out a little bit over the next couple of weeks, and more features may be being brought into it, a smoother process of working and so on. But it is a really good starting point, and I'm really excited to see where this goes. But if you'd like me to create content on how you can utilize this alongside Core Framework, alongside then building that design out in Bricks, let me know in the comment section down below, and if enough people are interested, I'll create another video detailing all of that. As always, all applicable links are in the description. My name is Paul C. This is WPTuts, and until next time, take care.